Richard Lee, we have Jim Garlow, and we have Father Frank Pavone, someplace there in the audience, so I appreciate you. I appreciate you being here.
Good evening, friends. Father Frank Pavone here, National Director of Priests for Life. So great to have you with us as we continue to progress towards the most important election day ever. But it's not just election day, which is 3 weeks from today. It's election season. Voting has already started in many places. Someone is just telling us on the comments that they waited today 4.5 hours to vote. And we're hearing similar stories from various states that have begun the early voting process. This process will continue now for 3 weeks. We've got to be engaged in it. We are the ones that can reach other voters, all of us working together. Just those watching this broadcast can change the course of the election. We need to believe that because it's true. Just those of us watching, through the people we can reach, if we reach everyone that we can change the course of this election. We're talking about the United States House of Representatives. We're talking about the United States Senate. We're talking about the presidency. We're talking about governor's races, state legislative races, mayors, city council, all up and down the levels of government. It all matters. It all counts, and you count. So that's why I'm always happy to be here to encourage you to share some thoughts, share some inspiration, and to share some prayer. We'll start with my book, Pro-Life Reflections for Every Day. In their document called Living the Gospel of Life, the United States bishops wrote, "The failure to protect and defend life in its most vulnerable stages renders suspect any claims to the rightness of positions on other matters." Reflection: why do the bishops say that when public servants disregard the right to life, their stand for other human rights is suspect? The reason is that the right to be safe, free, educated, and economically secure cannot be rights if life itself isn't a human right. To make one's humanity negotiable means that other rights that flow from one's humanity are negotiable as well. Let us pray. Lord, make the humanity and rights of all your people secure. Amen. Well, you can get this book, a little reflection like that, every single day of the year at prolifereflectionsforeveryday.com. Well, brothers and sisters, I was with the president last night. He is as energetic as he's ever been, and feels great, is leading, is working, is rallying, is firing people up. He was just an hour away from here last night in Sanford, Florida, and we were at that rally. And just now, I trust that many of you are watching him right here on these channels as he brought us yet another rally speech tonight from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. He'll be in Iowa tomorrow night, Des Moines. He'll be in North Carolina on Thursday. He'll be back here in Florida Friday afternoon, and then in Georgia Friday evening. And there will be many more rallies after that these next 3 weeks until Election Day. This is the get out the vote season. This is the time when it's voter-to-voter contact that matters the most. Bringing people out to the polls. Do it together. If you have a group of friends and you all, vote in the same district, if you make it a group activity, that helps people. It can help you deal with the long lines. It can help you, be motivated to go out and do what has to be done to get this vote going the right way. And I just want to give a few interesting observations to you tonight. Yesterday was Columbus Day, right? And it's a special celebration. If you joined me for my Mass yesterday, I read the proclamation. In fact, I have it right here as well, from President Trump declaring it to be Columbus Day yesterday, as the law empowers him to do. And Italian Americans, but all Americans, can rejoice in the spirit of faith, the spirit of discovery. Even the church, the Catholic Church, has a recommendation in its liturgy that on Columbus Day, the Mass prayers that are used would be, and we did it here at the Mass yesterday, the Mass for the evangelization of peoples. Special Mass prayers for that, for the spreading of the gospel to all the nations. Because this is part of what happened with the voyage and the discoveries of Columbus back there in 1492. Now, you ready for this? You may have heard it already. Biden, who wants to lead this country, he ignored Columbus Day. You heard it right. He ignored it. He didn't even give lip service to it. Instead, he talked about and issued a statement about the progressive alternative to Columbus Day. Those who want to rewrite our history, those who think America was never great in the first place. And he honored Indigenous Peoples Day. You see the narrative already, right? Oh, no, it's not the great courage and faith and discovery and linking of the two continents and that was ushered in with the voyage and discovery of Columbus. Oh, no. No, never mind about that. It's the people that were here. Oh, those indigenous people, we've treated them so bad. So Biden goes with the progressives they don't want to pay any attention to Columbus Day. This is just the tip of the iceberg. They want to rewrite our history. Here's a guy who wants to be president of the United States. He doesn't even know how to celebrate Columbus Day. Can you make this stuff up? Can you possibly make this stuff up? He released a statement honoring Native Americans, and we're not saying we don't honor Native Americans, but the guy ignores a national holiday. And he wants to be the national leader, and he ignores a national holiday. So what happens if he actually becomes president? Remember, it's a presidential proclamation that establishes Columbus Day. And we're not going to have any more presidential proclamations about Columbus Day? It's going to be completely forgotten? If Biden was in the White House, he would not issue a proclamation like this. He'd be issuing a proclamation saying, oh, how terrible we were, how terrible we are. Oh, we should bow our heads in shame, America. That's what the Democrats did all during their convention. That's what they do with this 1619 project in conjunction with the New York Times. Rewrite our history. Rewrite, just like they rewrite the Constitution. They want to rewrite the Constitution. They want to rewrite our history. America was never great, these people say. That's why they mock the campaign motto of President Trump, Make America Great Again. They say, America was never great in the first place. They're wrong. America was founded in greatness, the greatness of the ideals and principles articulated by our founders, the greatness of the developments and the not only the way that we affirmed human dignity from our founding, but the way in which our efforts sparked efforts throughout the world to bring an end to slavery, to bring about more equality, to bring about more economic growth, to bring about more peace. Wow. One of the things the former vice president said was, our nation has never lived up to our full promise of equality for all. Here's a guy who served under the first black president, right? Oh, but we've never lived up to our notion of equality. Well, by the way, who in the world is he, or any Democrat, to be lecturing the rest of America about not living up to our vision of equality when they can't seem to recognize the equality of the children in the womb? And in fact, they want us to help pay to destroy them. Who are they to lecture us about this? This is just the tip of the iceberg. The man can't even celebrate Columbus Day. This is what folks who are supporting Biden are looking for. Unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable. So how many people in America do you think believe that they are better off now than they were under the Obama-Biden administration? And this is an important thing to consider in when a president is looking for re-election. Let's go to the board for a moment here and look at this. So, are you better off now as Americans than under the previous administration? Now, if you look at other presidents who have sought a second term as president, and you consider how people in America answered this question when they were about to choose whether or not to give that president a second term, the highest number of people, the highest percentage to say, yes, I'm better off now, this is for previous re-election campaigns, was 50%. Well, 50% is very significant. If you're leading a country and half the people feel like, hey, I'm better off now, well, you're likely to get half the votes, at least, maybe a little bit more, to re-elect you. Well, Gallup just came out with the answer to this question in terms of the way Americans feel right now, and you know what the number was? Right now, at the end of the first term of President Trump, you know how many said yes? 56%. It has never been that high. Never. This bodes well. This is significant. This is important. Now, you might wonder, why would people say this and then at the same time not feel that they are ready to vote for President Trump? Wouldn't that be odd? Because then you see other polls where you don't see this translating into actual votes. Well, here's one of the reasons. And by the way, we understand certainly, I mean, the percentage of Americans who do not feel like they're better off. You know, those are concerns of ours as well. They're not just concerns of yours. Those are concerns of the president as well. They're not just concerns of yours. We all know that no branch of government and no people working in any branch of government have a magic wand. Nobody here on earth, no system of government or political party can make life perfect. And you have the pledge of and the commitment of this president to continue working and fighting for you. If you don't feel that you're better off, We're not writing you off. We're not ignoring your problems. And I'll tell you what, this president is fighting hard for you. As he said in his rally speech tonight and also last night at all these rallies, the best is yet to come. We are on a path of winning, 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 and the best is yet to come. See the positive vision that this president has, not the negative vision that Biden and the Democrats have. But one of the things going on here in terms of this translating into votes, I want to address this just a little bit. I've told you some stories that I know about President Trump and my own encounters with him, but people that know him way, way better and have known him for many years on a personal basis, I can tell you they always tell this to me, that he's just a plain good guy. He's a nice guy. He's a generous guy. He's a forgiving guy. He's a humble guy. He's a generous guy. He's a family man. He's a father of beautiful children. By their fruits you will know them. A lot of religious believers don't realize this. What a good man. You know, we always talk about his accomplishments, and I ask you to go to promiseskept.com regularly and look at those accomplishments. Study them. Memorize them. Talk to others about them. Promiseskept.com. So the accomplishments is one thing. But you know, a lot of people struggle with they don't realize what a good guy he is. Like Kim Marie is saying, he raised his children properly. Look at the man. Look at the family. Look at the fruits. What did Jesus say? A bad tree cannot produce good fruit. He's got beautiful, professional, distinguished children, successful people. I mean, that by itself. But I'm going to tell you, the people that I know that work with him and have encountered him far more than I have, say things like, he's so attentive to the way that people feel and to their needs and to their families. From stories of him, when somebody helps him, he ends up, blessing them in tremendous ways, like the story I told you. It's circulated publicly about in New York, the guy that stopped to help him when he had car trouble on the road, and Donald Trump ended up paying his mortgage as an expression of his gratitude. But it's more ordinary things than that. Staffers and people who are visiting with him on business in the Oval Office, he'll ask about their families. And somebody was telling me just today how they told the president about an elderly relative and who prays for the president every day. And the president stopped and he said, "What's her name?" And he wrote a note to her, a personal note, thanking her for the prayers and for the concern. Another person on his staff told me that how he was talking to him. They were doing business, and he stopped to ask, how's the health of your family? How's your children? What is going on, in your family life? And please give them my best. And I've seen this. I mean, people that I know who knew him for a long time, even before he ran for office, are just so impressed by the respect and the kindness that he shows to those around him, those who work for him, those who become friends with him. It's constant. I'm telling you that I'm talking to these people all the time, and this is the only thing I'm hearing. I have never heard a person, and I've lost count of how many people I know, and I've spoken to at length, who know him very well. I've lost count of how many of these people there are, and they're consistently telling me all these stories, and not once from any of them have I heard the slightest complaint about his attitude or his actions. Not once. I'm just, this is, and I bring this up because, first of all, it's true. This is a man who is lied about constantly, totally unfairly smeared all the time by the media and by the left, they have nothing good on their side, the left. They're nothing good in their ideas, nothing good in their policies. all they can do in this election is attack and malign and slander the man that they are opposing. It's a totally negative campaign coming from the other side. Meanwhile, President Trump is saying what I said a moment ago. Hey, America, I'm fighting for you, and the best is yet to come. And he says this constantly. And it's true. You can see the best is yet to come. And that's why 56% of the American people are saying that they're better off than they were under Obama-Biden. Now, that should be translating into the votes, because aside from the accomplishments, you got a good guy here. It's okay to vote for him. You know, as a spiritual person, as a person who is concerned about character and about virtue, you know, let's talk about character for a moment. Besides the personal generosity, what does he do with his paycheck? Do any of us do the same thing? Do any of us do the same thing with our paycheck that he does? Namely, give it away. Give it away to various programs and programs that are set up to help various people in different ways, whether it's education or health care. I mean, he donates it. Besides the personal generosity, the personal humility, the sense of humor. I mean, did you ever meet, let's just think about this for a moment. And he brings this up every once in a while. Why did I do this? Why did he run for president? I mean, how many of you knew the name and the person Barack Obama before the news started circulating that this senator was thinking of running for president? I mean, I remember when he first started coming onto the scene, I was like, who in the world is this? Never heard of this guy. Now, why did Donald Trump run for president? Was it in order to become well-known? No, he was already well-known. He was already famous. So why did he become president? Maybe he thought that he could find some path to fortune. Was it fame? Was it fortune? He already had that. Success, maybe he felt he wasn't successful at doing anything else, so he decided to become president. He was already successful. Why did he do this? He had never run for office before. He wasn't a politician. But by the way, that's how he got elected. He's not a politician. He mentioned it again in the rally speech tonight, and also again last night. He's reminding people, I'm not a politician. If I don't talk like a politician, it's because I'm not one. If I don't behave like the Washington, D.C. swamp, it's because I'm not one of them. If I don't act presidential, he said it's much easier to act presidential than to do the things I do and actually get things done. What would you prefer? Somebody who acts all presidential, is prim and proper in every word and every mannerism, or the one who actually brings about a record reduction in poverty and a record reduction in unemployment and a record strength to our military and to border security and to all just up and down the litany? Would you prefer somebody who's prim and proper and doesn't get things done, or who, maybe that doesn't sound so presidential, I'm not so sure about that, but actually gets things done? Whom do we as a people prefer? Whom should we prefer? Well, let's ask the question a different way using a military analogy. There's a battle going on for your protection and the protection of your family. Literally, the protection of your community and your country. What do you prefer? The general who can win the war, or the nicer of the two? The nicer guy of the two? Which one do you want leading the forces that are defending you? I mean, I think the answer is self-evident. It's obvious. Why did I do this? He did and why does he need it? The criticism? The constant opposition from the media? The constant mistreatment from the Democrats? He caught them spying on his campaign. There, it's all starting to come out now, and more of it is coming out. They spied. This was an attempted coup. What's been going on over these last 4 years, this is why it's a joke. It's a joke. When the Democrats try to raise the question, as even during the Amy Coney Barrett hearings during these days, the Democrats trying to bring up the question about, oh, well, will the president accept the peaceful transition of power? First of all, he's not going to need any transition of power because he's going to be in there for 4 more years. But under the hypothetical delusion of these Democrats that somehow Joe Biden will get into the White House, they're speaking this narrative as if the president is not going to allow a peaceful transition of power. Our nation is known for its peaceful transition of power for these 244 years of our existence. But the irony of it all, the current Democrat Party are the ones asking this question when they have not allowed a peaceful acceptance of the 2016 election for these last 4 years. They're the ones that haven't been able to accept the peaceful transition of power. You know what President Trump did not have? He never got what's called the presidential honeymoon. You know what that refers to? When there is a transition of power and the White House switches from the control of one party to the other, you know, the political opponents of a new president from the opposite party kind of lay off for a while. You let the man settle in. It's the most important and powerful position in the world. Let him settle in, kind of get his bearings, encourage him a little bit, because after all, I mean, political differences being what they are, despite those differences, we are one country, and he is our president. So this is the mindset that is always characterized American politics. We can fight very hard and disagree very vehemently. But, you know, when it does come time for a transition of power, I know our country has always been marked by this. There's a courtesy, there's a certain respect built in that says, well, the man is our president, so let's give him some space here. He's been a hard-fought campaign, and let's let the man settle in and feel the love a little bit, feel some support, encourage him. He's never been president before, you know. I mean, it's got to be a scary thing. They didn't give President Trump any presidential honeymoon. Not only had he never been president before, he never held any elected office, he wasn't a politician. But they didn't give him the presidential honeymoon. There was no sweetness. There was no, oh, good, come on, let's help you settle into the job. There was none of that. Do you remember what happened at, actually, 5 days after the election, a group met to plan the resistance. Now, this is public record. A group met 5 days after the election to plan the resistance and how they would try to thwart what this president would try to do. And the inauguration, you remember what 70 Democrats did? Again, this was another evidence there was no honeymoon. They boycotted the inauguration. They didn't show up. We're talking about members of Congress. I was there at the inauguration. I saw the empty seats. 70 of them. Sore losers that they are. Oh, not my president, not my president. Are these people just ignorant of how this whole system works? So they didn't. So what I'm saying is, you know, he has to face all this garbage from the media, from the Democrats, from the left. Why does he do? Why does he subject himself to that every day? Has subjected himself to investigations and obstruction and fake impeachment and all these lies. And now he wants to do it for another 4 years? Stop and think. What's motivating him? He really, truly loves the country. He really, truly wants to make America great and safe and wealthy and proud and respected again and again and again. He wants to fight for you. He wants to return power to you, the American people. See, he doesn't see this, his being president, his running for president, his campaigning. He doesn't see this as being for him. You see, a couple of people, even sometimes commenting here, they say, oh, well, he's all doing this all for himself. Yeah, exactly what for himself? Exactly how? By raising more people out of poverty to the tune of 6.6 million than any previous president has done? How does that help him? By brokering a peace deal in the Middle East that hasn't been done in 25 years with the state of Israel? Exactly how is that selfish? By helping the veterans, by firing 9,000 workers from the Veterans Administration who were doing a very bad job of not serving our vets and getting rid of them. Obama didn't get rid of them. And what's in that for him? VA choice? I mean, the president doesn't need more doctors. He was referring tonight to the fact that when he came down with the virus, he said, I never knew there were so many doctors in the world. I got all these doctors surrounding me from Johns Hopkins and all these people. And he doesn't need more medical attention, but he did VA choice so that the veterans wouldn't have to wait and wait and wait and wait for medical attention that they need now. And he revised the system and said, no, go to your doctor, that you can get the treatment now and then send us the bill. How exactly is this selfish? Some people are just, they're tuned in to the loser left-wing Democrat talking points, and they're not giving either themselves or this president even a chance by thinking through some of these things. We're not safer, some people will say. Oh, no, of course not. The military is stronger, the border is more secure, and not 10, not 20, not 1,000, not 100,000, not 250,000, but 500,000 criminals who were in this country that didn't belong here in the first place were, thanks to President Trump, deported out of this country. 500,000. These are criminals. That would be a danger to your family and mine. 20,000, not 20, not 1,000, but 20,000 gang members, including thousands of these violent MS-13 gang members, used to be in our country, but thanks to President Trump, they aren't anymore. Sent away. That's what the last 4 years have brought us. I don't know if those who think this way don't see any good coming from President Trump, they got blinders on, own any businesses. But what he's done with government regulations, getting rid of them more than any president has ever done, allows businesses to grow and to flourish. Biden sent jobs in factories, manufacturing jobs and other jobs by the millions and factories by the tens of thousands out of our country by the very poor leadership of the Obama-Biden administration, entering into things like the Trans-Pacific Partnership or letting China get into the World Trade Organization or getting into this Paris Climate Accord. We had a whole session on this the other night where we showed what a harmful disadvantage this is to us as Americans. I don't find any substance in these declarations that the left makes, and every once in a while, because there are no Biden rallies to watch with people cheering USA, USA, USA. There's no Biden rallies to watch. So they come here and they watch me. And I don't hear any substance at all coming from these people. They've got no facts, no arguments. They've got nothing. If you hear something, any of you, my friends, please let me know. Please let me know. But they've got nothing. Okay, so character, it first revolves around, why is he doing this out of service for the American people? You show character, this man is a good man. Character, when you keep your promises, you keep your word. That's why the website of his accomplishments is called promiseskept.com. Not only has he kept his word, and again, nobody has a magic wand, nobody is perfect, and nobody can be beyond criticism. But he keeps his word. This says he's going to do something, says he's going to work on something, works on it. I remember a story from the first campaign where he had made a promise to a particular college, a university. He said he would come and do a campaign rally there. And as the dynamics of, the campaign were unfolding and the scheduling, you can't always schedule these things immediately. But he said, no, I'll come there. I'll do an event. And, the campaign was progressing, and the state in which this college didn't end up really being a swing state. It wasn't necessarily electorally a benefit to go there. And some of his, advisors were saying, well, why are you going there? You should be in one of the other states that's going to help you more. And he said, no, I have to keep my word to my friend. I promised I would go and speak at that school. This is the kind of man that he is. Promises made, promises kept. And there's lots of stories about this too, where he would, shake hands with somebody, make a promise, and, at great sacrifice, would not go back on his word, would follow through on that. We're going to talk tomorrow night, by the way, in this program with a man who also has had a lot of personal contact with the president, Stephen Strang, who wrote the book God, Trump, and the 2020 Election. The author of that book is going to be with us tomorrow night and talk to us about his book. It's a great book to read in these next few weeks, and he'll give us continued insight into the character of this president. But, you keep your word. This is one of the key things you want to look for in politicians. And also, you want to look for a sense of fairness. And this characterizes not only his personal life, this characterizes his policies. Fair trade deals, like I was talking about a moment ago. Excuse me. You don't enter into international trade deals where America's going to be at a disadvantage. One of the things he talks about is most favored nation status that he has gotten for the United States. Most favored nation status means in a trade agreement, if one country involved in the agreement is given a break in some way, all the countries involved have to have the same break. That's what he's insistent on for America. My goodness, it's just common sense. It's really just common sense. Fairness. Fairness in international trade agreements. Why did he go to NATO and say to NATO, hey, you guys aren't paying your fair share? You're not paying your fair share. And he said to them, you got to start paying up. Why should, if we have this agreement that we're all going to chip in and help one another be defended, why is it that America should be footing the majority of the bill? Well, he got all of them but one, I think, to pay up their fair share of the NATO bills, $130 billion. Fairness, transparency, honesty. Price transparency. You heard about price transparency? This has been already signed. Doesn't take effect till January 1st. But the idea that companies and the idea that health insurance should not be giving us surprise bills, but be upfront. Tell people before they agree to pay something, tell them how much they're going to pay. Price transparency is something that the president has been very committed to, and we're going to see this kicking in more and more. In the area that we work on in regard to abortion, he has insisted that health insurance companies that cover abortion don't hide that fact. He's instituted a regulation that says they have to let the person who's buying the insurance plan know up front whether it covers abortion or not, because that is one of the many ways that, as he says, we're restoring power to you, the American people. In other words, you should be equipped with the knowledge you should know. Because if you don't want your insurance plan that you're paying into to cover abortion, then you should know so that you don't have to buy into that plan. This is the kind of transparency, fairness, honesty that he is calling for, that he is looking for, that he is insisting on, that he is putting into public policy. He's been transparent about the courts, the judges, what president in the past, and where, by the way, is Biden on this, has told us in advance the list of names from whom he would choose a Supreme Court justice. The Supreme Court is so important to so many people. He told us, and he stuck to his promise, stuck to his commitment. Come on, Biden, show us your list. People would be running for the hills if they saw your list of radical left-wing activists who would destroy this country and rip up the Constitution just like you want to do. Biden is a disaster. So, all of this says something about character. And you know what else I notice about his character? You know, and you hear these stories. How can we put it? It's the human connection. What do I mean by this? You know, again, and it goes to the question of personal virtue and character. And often leaders lack this. Often bishops in the church lack this. There's no human connection. You talk to them and it's like, you know, they're looking over here. You're standing here trying to talk to them, they're looking over here. And you never really know if they're hearing what you're saying. And they talk, and or if they even talk, and you hear words, but you don't know after they talked what they really said. There's a disconnect in a lot of leaders. They're aloof, they don't have time for you, and it's like, this guy's the opposite. Now, one of the things that you know, there's a lot of stories about this, and again, it comes down to the personal level. Alveda King, who works on our staff full time, you know, she's frequently been with the president. She'll attest to that personal attentiveness that he has to the person right in front of him. But there's another dimension here that comes across in policy. I remember the story, for example, of when he went to the generals on one of his overseas trips and was asking them, I believe this was in the Middle East, and was saying, well, you know, how's this operation going? How long is it going to take? And, oh, well, we expect it'll take this long. And he says, really, it has to take that long? Well, no, sir, it doesn't have to take that long. Well, tell me what would you recommend? Well, sir, we could do it in, you know, a fraction of the time. And he said, well, why didn't anybody ever tell me that before? And they said, sir, nobody asked us. The guys on the ground, the generals, those that are leading the troops, and are in the midst of the situation of the mission that the commander-in-chief is giving them, we have a commander-in-chief who actually will talk with these guys and listen to them. And you know, and you see him do this. You know, you often hear him say, like in press conferences, if he's asked a certain question about something, he'll explain what the administration is doing, and then he'll say something like, well, we'll see what happens, we'll see what happens. And he uses that phrase because he's always listening to find the best way of how it will happen. He knows how to negotiate, and he knows negotiation means change, and negotiation also means listening. And you want to find the right people to talk to. And you see, the thing about President Trump is he doesn't have the mindset that the best advice only comes from the elites. The best advice only comes from the experts and the professionals. No, he believes the best advice, sometimes it could come from the most unexpected place. Just listen to the people around you. And this is what he does. There's a certain human connectedness here. We saw it with the way he dealt with North Korea. You know, he was told that North Korea, he was told by the previous administration, this is an unsolvable problem. You know, you're not going to be able to solve the North Korea issue. And, they would talk about the, Kim Jong-un over there, the leader. And at a certain point in all the discussions that were going on about what a big problem North Korea and its leader were, President Trump said, well, did anybody ever talk to him? You ever try sitting down and talking to him? And before we know it, we see him and the North Korean leader shaking hands and talking together. I mean, President Trump was not soft. He at a certain point, he had to walk away from the negotiating table. But he didn't get us into a war with North Korea, did he? Like some of the leftist lunatics predicted that he would. Where's the war? Where is the war? Where's the war? Where's the tension? Even the tension has come down. Are we worried about, North Korea acting up tomorrow? I mean, President Trump has calmed that situation down. And again, I think the key line here was not some kind of, really complex military or geopolitical solution. It was a human solution. Hey, he said, did anybody ever try sitting down and talking with the guy? That sounds very much to me like what the Catholic Church always advocates when we talk about dialogue, when we talk about listening, when we talk about engaging the human person face to face. Brothers and sisters, I think that we are looking not only at the best president that we've had in terms of policies and accomplishments, not only at a great negotiator and deal maker, but we are looking at somebody who has been able to combine the exercise of the highest office in the land, the most powerful office in the world, with a kind of common sense, straight talk, and human connection that gets things done, combined with a sense of determination, a fighting spirit, and a sense of optimism and forward thinking that is able to say to America, the best is yet to come. We're going to have next year the greatest economy that we've ever had. And we're going to land the first woman on the moon and the first astronaut on Mars, Eden. Eden, like the Garden of Eden, right, Eden? The Garden of Eden. We're going to have like a Garden of Eden on Mars. And this is the frontier spirit. This is the positive spirit. This is the spirit that Christopher Columbus had. This is the spirit that the frontiersmen had in developing this country and being willing to go west and settle new lands. This is the spirit that brought us to the moon. Remember when President Kennedy said that by the end of this decade, we're committed to landing a man on moon and safely bringing him back to the earth. And I remember, and I'm sure many of you remember, we just had recently we had last year, the 50th anniversary of this event, when Neil Armstrong first set foot on the moon, and that American flag was placed there on the surface of the moon. We're going to plant our flag on Mars. The president says this at practically every rally. This is the spirit of adventure. This is the spirit of exploration. This is the spirit of expansion. This is the human spirit. It's an expression of our human dignity. And we can do it if we love America and if we love humanity, which this president does. Let me go back to the chair here and conclude with you here tonight. So I try in these evening conversations to bring you some insight, some stories, some practical information. We're going to be talking to, on this program, a number of the people who work even more closely and have had some good encounters with the president. Like I said, tomorrow night we'll have a conversation with author Stephen Strang. He wrote a great book about the president, about the election. But right now, as I said at the beginning tonight, we're in voting season. And so the crucial thing we have to be doing, all of us need to be doing right now, is looking at as many voters as we can within our circle of influence. Go through your database, your contacts list in your phone or on your computer, your friends on social media, literally, I'm asking you to do this. Take the time to sit down and just, this is with the exception of Eden, okay? Eden doesn't have to do this. Sit down, look at these lists, one by one by one. I've been doing this all through the election season myself. Look at the people you know. Don't rely on just thinking off the top of your head. Get in front of that computer, get in front of that, go to their contacts in your phone, and just one by one go through the whole list from A to Z. And with the question in your mind, what can this person do to gain more votes? What can I do to help this person be more aware of the election, more involved in the election? What can I do? And this is what we got to be doing in these days. This is the most important thing. And as I've always said to you, anything you can put off now until after November 3rd, anything you can put off these next 3 weeks, do so. Put it off for 3 weeks. It's only 3 weeks. Many things here in our lives that they can wait 3 weeks. And, I had, someone contact me recently that wants to interview me for some big documentary that's being made about another leader. And I said, okay, can we do it after Election Day, please? Because even if something is just going to take an hour of your time, that can be an hour reaching more voters. And these elections can be very, 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 very close. You can make the difference, literally. Those of us just watching right now can make the difference. Do so. Put other things off until after Election Day. Go through that contact list. Ask yourself, what resources can I give this person? Can I give them some of the comparison guides that we have? Remember, party comparison pieces, very, very helpful in English and in Spanish. The different positions of the political parties. You get to see how whacked out the Democrats are. Although the guide itself doesn't give that evaluation, it just gives the neutral information. Can my friends distribute this and hand it? Do they have, what is their, you look at these lists of names of people and say, do these people have some sphere of influence of their own? You see, and people like, I don't know who's saying what here. Christine Hudson and Stan are talking, but some people think, people like me, priests like me. This comes up in practically every one of these evening broadcasts, and I don't mind addressing it in every one of these evening broadcasts, because it's a big, big deception, a big deception. Well, priests, they should just stick to preaching the gospel. Here we go again, okay, and I'm going to address it again. Yeah, no thanks. No thanks to your distorted view of what preaching the gospel means, because it's not helpful, it's destructive. You see, each time I address this question, I address it in a slightly different way. This is a watered down, truncated, demented view, unfaithful view, uneducated view, erroneous view of what preaching the gospel means. And it's destructive. I'll tell you why it's destructive. Because it puts us in some kind of disconnected world, okay, devoid of any influence on what's going on around us. So someone like me, whatever preaching the gospel means, I'm not supposed to actually talk about how people's lives are affected by the kind of leaders that we elect. Now, these are people who are writing our laws. So does a preacher of the gospel have to live under and obey the laws of the land? Yes or no? I think preachers of the gospel, even if they're preaching the gospel in the defective and diluted and diluted way that some people perceive of what preaching the gospel means, even if they're preaching the gospel in just that way, they still have to obey the laws of the land, don't they? So even if you think of it just from the perspective of them looking out for themselves, don't they have a right to say something about who the heck makes those laws in the first place? Do I have to live under the judgments that the Supreme Court hands down? As a citizen of this country, unless I want to go live in some other country, as a citizen of this country, do I have to follow the decisions that judges in this country hand down? Well, yeah, right? So you mean to say then that I don't have a say in who those judges should be? Now that's even just if I'm thinking just about helping myself. What if I want to help others? Doesn't the gospel say something about that? What does the gospel say, as a matter of fact, about what we're supposed to do in the world? You see, this is why I say it's a diluted and diluted vision of the gospel, because it's like, oh, well, the gospel, I guess these people, when they say, oh, fathers should just stick to preaching the gospel, I guess they mean that, just tell us about the angels around the throne in heaven, and tell us about how Jesus died and rose from the dead. Well, I do preach about those things. Come join me every morning for Mass at 10 o'clock, and you'll hear the preaching of the gospel. But the fact of the matter is that if you think that Jesus dying and rising again, and sending out the Holy Spirit and establishing the church has nothing to do with politics, see, there's the danger, the diluted and diluted vision here of preaching the gospel. The danger is then that we take all these beautiful things of the faith and then we don't teach people how to apply it in their lives. If I believe that the gospel says, we must be just and honest and fair, well, let's go over to the board again. Does Jesus teach us we should be honest and fair? Or that we should take care of the weak? Well, when I see a president who has restored fairness to our trade deals, when I see a president who, by his human connection, has brought foreign dictators into line, when I see a president who has lifted 6.6 million people out of poverty, including 1 million African Americans, when I see a president who defends and speaks up for those that have no voice, the unborn children, and calls for their protection, I see the living out of the gospel I preach. And if I have any care about that gospel really having an effect on this society, then I'm going to advocate for those policies, and I'm going to advocate for the policymakers. So don't tell me about preaching the gospel. This is exactly what the gospel requires, that we get up, that we hear the word of God in our churches, but then like the civil rights movement did, and like the anti-slavery movement did, that we get up and go out of the four walls of those churches and change this world and do what the great gospel commission of Jesus Christ says we should do. Go and make disciples of all the nations, baptize them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teach them to carry out everything I have commanded you, to stop the shedding of innocent blood, to take care of the widow and the orphan, to care for the poor, to secure and protect your family and your land, to have the freedom and to defend the freedom of everyone, to worship God as they see fit. This is the proclamation of the gospel, and this is the agenda of our great president and of his party. And brothers and sisters, don't let anyone try to make you or us as clergy, shame on those who are essentially saying to us as clergy, you should have no voice in the public arena. Oh yeah, you have to follow the laws, but don't tell anybody anything about how to make good laws, except the bad ones. In other words, we should shut our mouths about politics, let people elect whoever in the world they want to make crappy laws, unjust laws, And then, oh, we like little meek little sheep, little mice, meekly just have to bow our heads and say, yeah, I guess I'll pray some more. It's so terrible, the laws that we have. Oh, the violence, it's so awful. Oh, the criminals. Instead of sitting in some corner lamenting to God about all the crime in our communities, how about supporting a president that took 500,000 criminals who weren't supposed to be in this country and got them out? I want to hear from all these people who think that we should be silent about this stuff. You want those criminals back again? Is that the gospel? Come on in, guys. Come on right back in. Kill our children. Shoot them up in the schools. Burn our buildings down. Riot in the streets. Steal and loot and kill. These are the people President Trump is saying don't belong in our country. Get them out. If they weren't supposed to be here in the first place and they're coming just to kill and to steal and to disrupt. Don't tell me about the preaching of the gospel. So, friends, let me give you a blessing. Thank you for spreading this word. I'm sure tomorrow somebody else will, when we come together again tomorrow night. And by the way, there's another rally tomorrow night from our president, 7 p.m. Let's watch his speech. And then we'll talk at 9 p.m. I'm sure somebody else tomorrow from some other part of the country will come on and say, why is this priest talking about politics? And I'll explain it all over again. And meanwhile, I thank you for spreading the word with me and for me. Well, now may the Lord bless you, friends. May He answer all your prayers, protect you and your families, make you strong advocates for life and for the values of our country. And may Almighty God bless you, Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow. Father Frank Pavone here of Priests for Life. God bless you all.
Hello, I'm Evangelist Alveda King. Day by day, my work with Priests for Life and Father Frank Pavone provides me with many opportunities to speak up for the unborn, whether on television and radio or in conferences with pastors or with government leaders. In order to accomplish all this work, we rely on the donations of individuals like you who believe in this cause and want to help us save lives. May I ask you to support us generously? Go today to prolifegift.org and give as generous a gift as you can. I appreciate it personally and will pray for you each day.
I think we have Richard Lee, we have Jim Garlow, and we have Father Frank Pavone, someplace there in the audience, so I appreciate you. I appreciate
Follow him, Father Frank Pavone, Fr. Frank Pavone, on Twitter. He is the National Director of Priests for Life. Please go to priestsforlife.org.